Join the conversation. Follow Jason on Twitter. And don't forget to visit the live show fan page on Facebook.
Listen, folks, I am an extremely patriotic person. I spent 4 years in the Marines. After I left the Marines, I spent the next 5 years roughly working as a contractor in Iraq and Afghanistan, where I lived and operated. I'm very patriotic in terms of what this country was founded on, the beliefs of limited government, individualism, peace, tolerance, and free markets. Those things are the principles that our country, that our nation was built on. And when I see the American flag, I don't see an imperialist flag being flown around the world. I see a government that has abused what that flag means and what it represents. But to me, that flag represents an idea. An idea that men have a right to be free, or women, if you're a feminist. That we as a people have a right to be free. That the individual sovereignty is sacred. That markets should be free. That government should be limited to protecting life, liberty, and property. When I look at the flag, I look at the ideas that this nation was founded on, that flag represented. It makes me sad to see what my government has done to it. And so when I speak about the hypocrisy of our government, understand that I am not speaking or talking in any derogatory way about the principles that America was founded on and what we believe. But recently, President Trump attended a funeral of William Ryan Owens, Navy SEAL who was killed in Yemen. Why are we in Yemen, ladies and gentlemen? What are our special operations troops doing? Those of you in the community, we lost a brother. Why did we lose him? What did he die for? Why are we there? What's the objective? He's dead now. They executed a raid under what they now admit was faulty intelligence or less than insufficient intelligence. In addition to killing what they claim are 14 militants, they also managed to kill nearly a dozen women and children.
30 civilians.
Well, no, it says 30 people died, including 10 women and children.
Okay.
Now, let me ask you something, folks. There was a time in my life, let me say it to you like this. There was a time in my life when I wouldn't have considered the death of women and children in any action that I took. That it would just have been part of the job. You go in, we all came back alive. Doesn't matter what sort of casualties. I had no moral compass in that regard. I'm kind of funny. I'm wired a little bit different than other people. I don't suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I never had any mental, emotional, or psychological problems with doing the job that I had to do. But I do recognize from purely an optics standpoint, even if you want to leave the morality out of it, that when our military shows up, think about what must have happened. There were at least 30 people sitting around, so this was not a small outlet. It was some sort of gathering. And all of a sudden, out of the cold, dark night, comes the SEALs. And they just start shooting. Pop, 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 pop. And in a matter of seconds, the whole world is on fire. And it only lasts a minute. It doesn't last a long time. That's what people don't understand. It's brief. And then everything goes quiet. And all you hear is the cold, dead air of night. And the screams and the lamentations of the women. And the blood and the bodies. Now you think for a moment what an incident like this does in spreading hate and discontent around the world for America and its actions. I know a lot of you believe that we're doing the right thing. We got to fight them over there so that we don't have to fight them here. But the truth is, we have millions and millions of people who are displaced, an entire generation of people that have lost sons and daughters, wives, brothers and sisters, that have seen their entire cities laid to waste, that have been driven out of their homeland because we chose to take military action in a country where we had no business being, to create regime change where none need take place. And now we have an incident where we had U.S. ground troops, special operations troops, in a country they shouldn't have been in, fighting alongside what we can only assume are the Saudis, who are fighting alongside of ISIS, that ended up raiding a village or an event or a party or whatever it was, killed 30 people, including at least 10 women and children. And we lost one of our own in the process. Where is the honor in that? Where is it? What do we have to hang our hat on? What do we have to be happy about? You can't have any. You can't have any pride. It's just stupidity. This was Donald Trump's first raid, by the way. His first act as president. And now we find ourselves in a situation where we are now making threats against Iran. A top advisor for the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini said on Thursday that Iran will not yield to useless U.S. threats from, quote, an inexperienced person. Quote, Iran does not need permission from any country to defend itself. Iran is thumbing its nose at America and saying, if we want to fire a ballistic missile on our own country, we're going to do it. So screw you. Can you understand their frustration and their rage at being dictated to by a country that claims to have the moral high ground after it just assassinated a dozen women and children in Yemen? Do you understand? This is not a joke, folks. It's not a knock on our military men. I'm not trashing our military. I'm just presenting to you the reality of the way we are seen by others and the hypocrisy of the position our government takes when attempting to take the intellectual or moral high ground when it comes to foreign affairs. Now, this just happened to take effect right after Iran decided that it was no longer going to use the U.S. dollar as its foreign currency. Now, I know